Hi everyone, I did something different this time. I painted this rifle snow camouflage. Some people call it Arctic camo or winter camo, basically snow camo, something you would use if you were hunting in the snow. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through it and show you what I did. It was a very long process because I had an image in my head and I kind of had an idea of how to do it, and it just wasn't quite working out like that. So I kept going back and forth, and I learned a lot. So now if I had to do this again, I could do it in a week. But I'm going to talk to you more about it and show you exactly what I did. After cleaning the surface with water, soap, and alcohol, I taped over everything I didn't want to paint over, and then I taped over all the plastic parts because I primed the metal parts. Took off the tape from the plastic surfaces and then gave it one even layer of white base coat. I also went in with the brush and just a little bit of sponge just to kind of make sure it is a pretty much even layer. Although it wasn't perfect everywhere, I knew I was going to be able to fix it later. I have actually done this before on the tailgate of my truck about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and it worked out okay. And this was my big idea. This is why I painted all this green on the gun. So then I just put the plant over and paint the white over it. So the first one turned out pretty good, but it's not always going to be like that. It would be a lot easier if you used stencils, basically stickers you would put on. That way you could paint it more evenly and you wouldn't have to deal with possible mistakes. So this one right here didn't really work out too well. As you could see it, I painted it once and you can only have one go at it. As you could see, if I try to paint it one more time to fix it, it would just be white. So this is the downfall with this method, and I was trying to fix it with the sponge and it wasn't quite working out already. So early on in the process, I already started doubting myself and thinking, okay, sometimes this will work and other times it won't. And it's very hard to fix it because you're spraying over it one layer. And like I said, you really only have that one shot. By the way, I really like this plant. That's why I use it all the time. It just leaves a really nice shape, but I wanted to use the pine needle so that it's not always the same thing. And here, as you could see, I actually taped it together so it's easier to hold down. And that one was pretty good. And overall, a lot of them worked out really nice. Here I tried something different that didn't really work out. So I didn't want the gun to be just white. I wanted to add some beige to add an extra dimension, but it just made the gun look dirty and I just didn't like the way it looked. So then what I did next, I actually liked it. I used this piece of yarn as a branch. So I didn't want to use a paintbrush. I just wanted to kind of make it a little bit different. And I dipped it in the paint, as you could see, and then I just kept going over it. There was no other way to do it besides getting my hands all messed up and get paint all over it. I already gave up on it a long time ago because if I used gloves, I just wouldn't feel what I'm doing and it just would not work out. Here I was trying to achieve that look where you have snow on the trees. Also, I didn't want anything to be too dark or too bright to stand out because it's supposed to be camouflage. So I wanted to mute the colors. So throughout this whole video, you'll see me going back and forth, adding more white and then adding more color and then adding more white. And most of it, I was still in the phase of trying to figure out what I'm doing. I was kind of lost and discouraged for a very long time. I didn't know what to do. As you could see, I was trying to do the same thing and still fixing all those mistakes. And I knew I wanted to add more green, but I couldn't spray anymore. So I had to walk away from it. I mean, I was busy too, but I wasn't feeling it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to mess it up. And it took me like another, I don't know, few weeks. By now, it was 2 months later. And one day I just woke up and I just started painting, and it just all came to me. And I just did it really dark, really bright, and I said it's all right. And then because I relaxed, this whole thing came to me. I realized I can use the plants as a stamp. So not as a stencil, but actually dip it in the paint and then push down on it, press down on it, right? I've done it before, but it didn't quite work. But now I saw that I have to push down on it just a little harder, maybe with my hands or with the sponge, and it will actually work out fine. And now after this, it only took me a week to finish it because I really liked it and I knew where I was going. So remember I tried adding some beige to the white just to kind of achieve that three-dimensional look, and I didn't like it. Adding beige and brown made it look dirty. I even tried gray on the paper, but the gray just made it look like as if I didn't paint the gun right and the black was shining through the white. So I decided to add blue. Snow is kind of blue. If you dig into like 2 feet snow, you will see in the hole it will be blue. So I wanted to do that, and I actually like the way it turned out. I wanted the blue to be so subtle so that you don't even really see it. It's almost like you're kind of feeling it, right? So it's just a hint of blue with the white. So I had to go back and forth a lot with the white and the blue to achieve that subtle look. Of course, I would have saved a lot of time by doing it like this, having it stand up and then just do both sides at the same time. But I didn't want to risk having the paint drip down or run down. And then also when you're trying to push down on it with the plant and everything, you couldn't do it. It would just tip over. So my suggestion is do one side, wait for it to dry, keep working at it until you think you're done, then do the other side, keep working at that, kind of look back and forth, see what you can do, right? And then stand it up and then connect the two on the top so that you have some kind of a continuation. And then at that point, you can still work on each side. Now, it's not so much spraying or anything, so the paint should not be running down, and then of course don't forget the bottom, and then just kind of keep going around. But at that point you can just keep having it stand up, and it's going to be a lot quicker. Also, you might be wondering why I didn't take the scope off, and ideally, that's what you would want to do, to paint the rifle and the scope separately. But this scope is white. I really don't think it's going to go on any other rifle because it just wouldn't match. So, of course, I asked the rifle owner to see what he thought, and he said, yeah, we could leave it on. By leaving it on, you also don't have to sight it in again, so it kind of saves that hassle and that time. But it just needs to stay together, and it will work out. Of course, it's personal preference of how busy or how plain you will make it, and either way will work. I mean, you're going to hunt in the snow, as long as your rifle is white, whatever it is that you use to kind of break it up a little bit, it will work. For me, it was kind of a going back and forth once again, because I liked both looks. I kept looking at it while it was a little darker, a little busier. I loved it, and then I added a lot of white to it. And I like that in theory because it's supposed to be a little bit blending in. It's camouflage, right? I liked it like that too, but it was just kind of going back and forth, and I didn't want to overthink it. It's easy to overthink, and the problem is then you're going to overdo it, and then you end up messing up a good thing. So I guess this is true in life as it is true in painting. So I just had to say, I'm done here, and just basically look for the little parts that my sponge didn't get to. And this is when you want to use a smaller sponge or a paintbrush and just basically do your final touch-ups. I'm not showing it in the video here, but I gave it a couple of top coats with the clear coat. Make sure it's matte or satin, and it helps if you do it in a warmer environment. So I took it in my bedroom. I turned on my little space heater, and that way it dried really nicely, no bubbling or no issues whatsoever. And of course, only after that is when you would take off the covers from the lenses and everything. And then you take off the tape that you taped over what you didn't want to paint. And the gun was black, and so was the scope. So all that will kind of stand out a little bit. So I actually went over it with the paintbrush and just tried to paint as much of it white as I could, so that it's not a lot of black standing out from the white. I hope you liked it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually very happy about this. I really think it's pretty. I think I achieved what I wanted to do, and I definitely want to do this again. It will be a lot easier and a lot quicker, but I want to know what you think. So please leave me a comment or if you have any questions. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.